Today we're going to visualize an over-the-air firmware update using end-to-end encryption and Goliath connectivity. Welcome back to Goliath. My name is Chris Gamble, and today we're going to be going over more Bluetooth stuff that's part of Goliath connectivity. You may recall in the past I had this beast in front of me, and this is a power drill that has this huge Bluetooth attachment on it, and it didn't do a ton. It showed what we wanted it to show, but it didn't do a ton. It didn't have downlink, it didn't have the ability to push settings down to it, and especially it didn't have OTA. But every new thing that's using Goliath connectivity, so basically Bluetooth on Goliath, you have access to uplink, so sending data up to the cloud, settings, and OTA. And today we're going to be going over OTA, and we're going to try and visualize it because, well, even though OTA over-the-air firmware updates is pretty easy on Goliath, sometimes it's hard to visualize it, so today's demo is actually going to visualize it. We're going to be using this board here. This is the Teak. This is a NRF52840DK on the back side here, using a low-cost Pro Micro form factor. But on the front, this is the board we built. This is a LED display. It's got an accelerometer. It's got temperature sensor, a bunch of stuff on there. And that's ultimately how we're going to demo it here. So let's take a look at the setup on the bench and how we're going to put this all together. Okay, on the bench here, we have a couple of boards attached to my DIN rail. I have the Freedom RW612. This is actually a gateway that we support in the Goliath Bluetooth Gateway repository, which we'll have on screen and linked down below. And you can go and just download a binary for this and then put your credentials in and it'll connect to Goliath. You see that it's connecting, it's trying to connect to Goliath here, and until it gets the IP address from the Ethernet, this is plugged in with Ethernet right there, until that's connected, then it won't do anything, but now it's scanning for Bluetooth packets. And just as a reminder, this is a reference implementation, so this isn't necessarily what your gateway has to look like. This is just going to be a fast way to get started. Again, just downloading the image here. On the right side, this is going to be the Teak board that we're talking to, and then down below, the terminal as we turn this thing on. Let's go and turn this on. All right, should be turned on now. All right, so we see the message in the upper right, and we also see the terminal messages as that's coming through. What we'll also see is a couple of messages about the LIS2DH and how this is actually motion activated. And that's part of our asset tracker work that we're working on and future demos that we'll have coming up here. But we should see that this thing has woken up. It's going to connect to Goliath through the gateway. And what you see is that there is a new version listed as being available. Not only that, the way that we get it is we shake it. We shake it to start the download. And that's just to show the interaction with the accelerometer, and that's actually what's going to get it to wake up and connect to the gateway once again. What we also see is on the gateway itself, we see this, this is an uplink packet here, but we have no idea what's in there. And that's because this device has its own certificate to the cloud. This device does not have the keys for it. It's just passing that data through. That's kind of the essence of Pouch, which we'll be writing more about on the Goliath blog. But ultimately, this is end-to-end encrypted up to the cloud. This can't see it, and but it is still able to pass it along. Once it gets to the cloud, it then gets decrypted and in both directions. This thing has now woken up. It's sent its first packet. It's gotten a notification that it's ready to get some more downloads. So let's go and do that. So I'm gonna shake this guy real hard. We should hopefully see it go. There we go. And so there we go again. So basically it woke up, it sent a new packet there through, and we see that there is, it's gonna start the firmware update. So now we're gonna see on the right side here is we have 512 byte packets as this thing's downloading. But the other thing we implemented is this, this algorithm to go and fill up the LEDs as we go. This is the visualization. Sometimes you don't always have the terminal output there and logging and similar. And so this is a great way to see that this thing is being updated. It's not the only way to do it, of course, but we thought it was a good way to do it. What you also notice is that this is doing some math based on which of the bytes we're actually receiving here. You see the offsets that are being listed versus the overall size of the firmware image. That's ultimately how we're able to calculate how done we are. And this is actually 105 LEDs here. So when we get to 100 of them, that's actually when it's going to reboot. It's not quite the whole, the entire setup there, but that's fine. While that's going, let's go and look at some of the code. And so what we can see is that it's actually in the firmware update. This is where we're actually doing the work for this sort of thing. And just quickly checking back in on the update here. So we're about that full here. That's how long I have to talk about this still. And basically what we're doing is we get a manifest received. So the manifest basically tells us which version is available. If you look on the left side here, this version file, this is ultimately what tells MCU boot which version of the firmware that we're running. And this is nice to have this as a separate file. You could pass this as a command line argument. We like to have it as its own file in here because then it's tracked in revision control as well. So you see this is on 1.2.2, the one that I'm building currently, but it's this device is slated to get 1.2.1, so that's currently what it's getting updated with. And then in here, this is where we're doing the updates. Then we do some LED messaging and similar. And then as we go through here, we have a function that we wrote called check progress, and that's ultimately what's outputting to this device that's almost all done and ready to go. So let's do this here. You can see that's just about ready to go. We should see it say, there we go, rebooting. So that just got into its final thing. We can see here as well on the terminal that this has rebooted. You can see that it actually can't even connect to it right now because it's not currently ready to go. And once it completes the MCU boot reboot cycle, once that's ready to go, this should wake back up. You'll see it light up here, and we'll be on a new version of the firmware. All right, there it is. It's woken back up. We see that it has a new version, 1.2.1. That's right there. So that is the newest version that it was just set to go. This should now advertise itself, and we should see some data flow through the left side here. So we should see once this connects to the cloud again, it should get its new data, and it should send up its first reading up to the cloud. And so if we want to see this also on the Goliath console, we can do that here. So if I go and reload, we can see firmware. It should be. So if we look at this on the cloud here, we can see this one. This is the device Teak 103 that it was on 1.2.2, and I've just kind of been bouncing it back and forth between 1.2.1 and 1.2.2, and we've been doing a bunch of firmware updates here. And then we can actually see some of the data that's been being sent up. This is actually the encrypted data that you could not see coming through the gateway, but it's just accelerometer data, right? So this is another thing we've been sending up through there. That's the data that you saw whenever it connects to the cloud. It's sending up its latest time series data, and we can see that just got sent up at 320, and it's 319 here, and it's 320 now. So yeah, it shows that this has been sending data up. So this is one of the many ways we will continue to show you over-the-air updates for your devices, for your embedded devices, including Bluetooth. That is really a wild statement for me to be saying. We've been doing cellular and Wi-Fi and Ethernet and even Thread for a long time, but let me tell you, Bluetooth and really indirectly connected devices, one of which is Bluetooth and BLE GAT, that is really magical to me because it unlocks a whole new range of devices, lower power, wider range of devices, lower cost in a lot of cases as well. Bluetooth is the new enabler on Goliath platform, and we think it's really exciting. We're enabling all this through what's called Pouch. Pouch is the thing that wraps up that data and encrypts it and sends it through things like gateways. And then of course the Goliath Firmware SDK and our cloud side innovations. If you have any questions about this, you can always go over to our forum. That's forum.goliath.io. You can go and try all the things that everything except the hardware, which is not yet available. You could try all of this stuff, including OTA, right out of the box. We'll have links for all of this in the blog post down below. We're really hoping you try it out and you let us know what you think. And we're looking forward to see what you build.